swear to God I'm with it. I don't see nobody in my lane that's quite go get it like me. Whoa. Please don't be wasting my time with that business. Who you kidding, man? Yeah. Whoa. Yeah, swear
What's
to God.
going on, everybody? Thank y'all for joining us here at Chad's Media for another episode of the Tyler Lennon Show. On behalf of Chad's Media and Front Porch News, I'm Tyler Lennon. We have a very special episode for y'all today. I have a co-host today, the man who's been calling the Sulphur Springs basketball games with me, which you can check out on the Chad's Media YouTube account, Mr. Grayson McClure. Grayson, what's going on, man?
What's up, man? Happy to be here.
Not only do we have a co-host for this episode, but we have a very special guest, another Sulphur Springs alum, Mr. Keaston Willis. What's going on, man?
What's up?
Dude, thank you so much for taking the time to join us. I know you're very, very busy. For anyone that doesn't know you, which I think that will apply to very few people, but just in case, I wouldn't be doing my job if I didn't introduce you. Keaston, not only a Sulphur Springs alum, but currently playing at Louisiana Tech.
Yes, sir.
So I think that's obviously going to be talking to you about that today. Before we get started, I have to mention we have the two of you here. Y'all were both members of what is, not arguably, but is the greatest basketball team in Sulphur Springs Wildcat history.
Yes, sir.
Can we talk a little bit about that? We'll get to you and your road and everything, but since we have both of you here, I kind of want to talk about that season for a minute, if y'all don't mind. Starting from the very beginning to, obviously, for those that don't know, made it to the state semifinals, I guess.
Okay.
And what was it like going into that season? Where were y'all's heads at? Kind of what was the confidence level like?
So me and Grayson actually did a podcast about this, and we talked about this a lot. But we started out the season, losing 3 people that was a big part of the team, and I think the whole community of SS thought like we were done and we weren't going to be good.
Man.
And
Everybody did.
Yeah, so Sip pulled us all before the season started, pulled us into the back gym and gave us a big speech, and we kind of took it personal and then surprised a lot of people before. So,
Grayson, what would you say your experience was similar to that? Or?
Well, I think like we all, like the players, we kind of thought like we thought we would play better because we thought we would have better chemistry. But it was like, I think at some point though, because it was all over social media about like the 3 stars leaving, and I think it did kind of get into our heads a little bit. Because even at the beginning of the year, he asked us what's our number 1 goal, and we just sat there silent. Nobody said anything. He was like, "It's not win state," and we were like, "Oh well, yeah." So I think we just kind of didn't really believe it, but we also knew like we had guys like Keaston, Dede, Cameron Kahn, X, like those guys would step up, and they all did. So
okay, y'all go into the season feeling that way. At what point did things start to turn? At what point did y'all realize, no, we are this good, we can do this?
we played rock ball at home. They had Samuel Williamson. He's at Louisville now, but he's like a 6'8" monster. But we played them, and they were ranked top 3 in 6A that year, and we beat them. So that's when I knew we were like, we could be really good.
Yeah, that's like he dropped like 30.
Yeah.
That's when we were like, oh, we're good. But it was great because we went on like a run there because our confidence was like through the roof. But then at some point, it just like kind of started dipping down because everybody started butting heads. I think it's when ego, like towards the middle of the season, ego starts getting involved. Because in the locker rooms, like everybody loved watching us play, but like practices and locker rooms, like it wasn't always like the best at all.
Fair. Another thing I want to ask y'all about that experience, because of course y'all both were, on varsity for multiple years, had your deep playoff runs and everything. I started covering the team right after the year you graduated. It would have been your senior year, I believe. And I'd always known that the Sulphur Springs community was super supportive and super positive, but that coming in here, I for the first time saw how big it was with the basketball program itself. How cool was that to experience? Because it may have always been like that, I don't know, but I feel like it did during y'all's time kind of continue to progress. So how cool was that to kind of experience and see for yourselves while you were playing?
I loved it. My freshman year, we weren't good, and we didn't have nobody in the stands. We were awful. But my sophomore year, we picked up a lot of people, and then that's when everybody just loved watching us play. And then it kind of took that that like every game it was like that from here on out. And then actually my senior year when they left and everything, our very first home game, there was people there, but like usually we don't see any bleachers, nothing.
Right.
And then we beat that team by like 30, and then the next game it was.
You almost had to build it back up and get to that point again.
Yeah.
Last question. I don't want to spend all of our time talking about this. We will start asking like you about your career and everything. But can y'all kind of walk us through? I think anybody that's ever played sports, anybody that watches, the goal is to get to state, right? And most people, unfortunately, have no clue what that feels like. So what was that experience like, getting to the state tournament, getting to be in that position?
It was definitely like something everybody wants to achieve. But honestly, I kind of went with the flow. Like I was expecting to make it to state, but we just kept winning. And then by the time we got there, it didn't really hit till like we ran out onto the court for me.
Yeah.
We had like a shoot around before and all that. Nobody was in the gym. But when we ran out and we saw like all the SS people and everybody, that's when it kind of hit. And like, I didn't get nervous, but I kind of got the chills when I ran out and everything.
Yeah, I never really got nervous, but that was the
just
one game. Right? It's so bright. It's so, you just tell like it's different. It's so many cameras. Like it's
the lights.
There's like 30 scouts there watching. So
the lights were like, so in high school gyms the lights are like on top, but like in stadiums and stuff the lights were like around, and it just beams down, and like you're not really used to playing on.
Right. I was about to say, if nothing else, you would think the arena atmosphere itself, how much distance there is between the sidelines and the stands, the goals or whatever, like that itself, I feel like would feel very different. Looking at you in your career, obviously you're playing at pretty much the highest level of basketball you could be right now. Mm-hmm. I know for a lot of people that's like a lifelong, something you have to work for your entire life. At what point in your life did you say, okay, I'm putting all my eggs in this basket, I'm going to see as far as basketball can take me?
Probably started in high school. I've always played basketball. That was my first sport. But I just kind of took it in high school and worked as hard as I could. And then I got blessed with an offer to Incarnate Word. And then I went ahead and took that, did good. And then.
So at what point was that? Was that senior year, junior year? After?
Senior year, yeah.
Okay.
Senior year is when I got my first offer. I had a few D2s, but I was like.
What was crazy is like with a lot of D1 coaches would come watch us practice because we had several.
We had tons, like Kansas State, a bunch of big schools too.
Yeah, and all of them seemed to pass on Keaston, and which like confused the whole team because we knew like he was our guy, and wasn't it like towards the end? Like you didn't get like Incarnate Word until later.
Until I think it was maybe playoffs. Yeah, playoffs first started. Yeah.
So how much tougher did that make your senior year? Because not only are you trying to have as much success you can have and with your team, but you're also having to think about your future as well.
Yeah, I was getting like a little frustrated. Not frustrated, but like worried. But I knew if I stuck with it, I'd get something.
How much of a relief was it when you got to that point? You're like, all right, now I can just focus on a state run.
Yeah, once I committed, I felt super relieved. Not a lot of people know how much like being recruited like wears you down. So like once I committed, I kind of felt like free and could just play without trying to impress, you know.
I mean, I will say, me and Grayson were actually talking about this during our broadcast of the game yesterday, but or 2 days ago, whenever that was. But they've added a couple of new things to the gym. I don't know if you got to see those. They added, I think it's called the Wall of Champions or something like that on one side. It shows every district championship and all that. But then on the other side of the gym, they have specifically a banner of just y'all's year, the entire roster. And obviously the record and everything like that. Me and Grayson were breaking down how many college athletes y'all had on that one team. Like that is, what was it, like 7 or 8?
6 playing, and then me and Boo also had offers. So it's 8 people on that state team that could have played college basketball. It's insane.
I think my last question on this side of things would be, and maybe I'm mistaken here, but generally speaking, like on another episode we had of the show, I had Ryan Humphreys. Mm-hmm. And being on the football side of things, there have been tons and tons of guys that have went D1 or got to play in college. And him being his age, he said literally like his entire life, there's always been those kind of guys to look up to. But it doesn't feel like, and again, maybe I'm mistaken, maybe I'm leaving people out, but y'all didn't necessarily have that to look up to. Y'all didn't have a ton of guys that were like, hey, Dave made it, I know that I can do it. And I think now that's like kind of what y'all's group did. It's completely changed the culture here. I think now even you have more guys like after y'all left in Cam and Day Day, and now we've got Justin, and like it's continuing to happen. Do y'all ever think about it in those terms, or like do you ever look back and like, hey, we built this or helped build it, and now there's younger kids. If I were in high school or junior high or elementary now, I would be looking up and being like, hey, those guys did it, but maybe I can too.
Yeah, I definitely noticed that more towards like when I got to college, like a bunch of kids and like younger kids are like wanting to play basketball more, and like we just had like such an impact on them, and I didn't really even notice it, but essentially it's made like the school more of like a basketball school now instead of football.
Right. And I mean, you're here with me on the other side of things. You're calling the games with me. I mean, you're getting to see that from this end as well.
Yeah, I see it. I think a lot of that is to SIP's credit, because SIP came in when it was nothing. I've been to games my whole life, and there used to be 20 people in the stands. And he immediately just started investing in kids from when they were in 3rd, 4th grade. So when you start investing in those kids, then they fall in love with basketball more. Then they want to work harder. So I think a lot of that is from Coach Sip building that program and helping players like X. Because not many people remember X when he was younger, but he wasn't that great.
Oh no,
he was not very.
He was
good.
on B team.
Yeah, B team.
8th grade. He was on B team.
So him being able to help improve players and create a winning culture in Silver Springs, like I think it completely like changed the whole community.
I think we do need to give credit to Coach Shaver now, because I think he's doing a great job of continuing that, and we're even seeing them start to implement more things like. We haven't seen it yet, but there's going to be the band at some games, and they're doing like the toy drive they did this past game. They're getting like vendors for different foods. So I think, like you said, SIP did an amazing job of building that. I think Shaver's doing an incredible job of keeping that going. And I know you haven't gotten to see them. I mean, you're very, very busy, but no offense to either of y'all. Of course, I didn't get to see your senior season, but I got to see yours. I honestly think the team they have right now is, I don't want to say as good or better, but I think they have as good of a chance as I've seen a Sulphur Springs team have.
Yeah, they're good.
They got nothing on us. But
well, I actually told him that during our broadcast. I was like, man, I would like to see that game. If there were a way I could see it, I think it would be a really, really fun game.
The only problem with our team was the state team was so good. So I don't want to keep on it, but like because there were so many options on that team where like it was almost like Keaston was basically unguardable. Day is a monster. X, if you lock them down, X can score whenever he wants, can't. Like, there's way too many options. That's
right, and I guess if one of y'all were having a bad night, say you were having a bad night, someone else could step up. If someone else was, and you could step up. Y'all had those kind of options. Yeah. So starting, you graduate high school, and then where do you go from there?
So I committed to Incarnate Word in San Antonio, and then I played my freshman year there, and I do really well, win freshman of the year from the conference, and then I decided to stay another year, and all my stats, everything shot up. We won more games, all that. And then my plan from there was to transfer. I wanted to play at a higher level because I knew I could, and ultimately win more games. You know, scouts and everything were saying he can score at a high clip, but can he do it on a winning team? And that was the only question mark with me. And now,
was that frustrating at all for you?
Losing was, yeah, I don't like to lose. But I mean, now I committed to Louisiana Tech, and they're a winning program. They're used to winning, and we've been doing that this year. So
before we get to where you're at now, if you don't mind me asking, what was it like going to the college level and immediately having the success that you were having? Like you said, you may not have been winning as many games as you wanted, but you at least on a personal, individual level were doing that. I know you're a team guy, you look at it from that perspective, but still to get to that level and immediately prove, if nothing else to yourself, like, no, I am this good. I can do this.
Yeah. So beginning of my freshman year, I wasn't even playing. The first 3 games, I didn't touch the court.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. So at that point, I kind of took it personal and started doing better in practice. And eventually, coach put me in the game, and I led the team with like 14 or something. And from that point on, it just gradually got better and better. And then a day before practice, he came to me and put me in the starting lineup. So I just kind of worked towards it. Everybody sees the like highlights and stuff on Twitter, and but not a lot of people know that I actually wasn't playing at first. So.
That's wild to start the year not even playing, and then you end up winning freshman of the
Yeah,
year.
yeah.
If you don't mind, again, before we get to where you're at now, can you kind of walk us through, and your experiences may be different from there to what it is now, but can you kind of walk us through, I think the average person at home would love to know what just the day-to-day life of a Division I or a high-level college basketball player is. What is your day-to-day life?
Most days, I wake up, usually have weights about 8:30. And then right after that, 8:30 to 9:30, and then you got class at 10. And in between there, you got to find some food. And then you usually have either 1 or 2 classes, and then by then, practice starts. And then right after that, you're done for the day.
Now, what is the game day experience like?
So at La Tech, we do, we call it shoot around. We do a shoot around before, like a couple hours before the game, and then we just prepare for the game, and that's really it.
When you get to that level, especially, okay, let's start to where you're at now. You're at La Tech now. Your first game of the year is on the road at number 14 ranked Bama. What was that experience like? You're on the road. You're playing a ranked team. I mean, what's the nerves like? What are you feeling? What's the road trip like? Just all of that.
Of course, I was nervous, and that's my first game on a new team. But I think it went smoothly. I think I wasn't even starting at that point, but I think everything went smooth. I was prepared for the game, and I went out and played well. So.
Awesome. By the way, Grayson, feel free to hop in. I know I'm going on this rhythm. So you start the year off, and then y'all have been playing very well. You have 4 wins in a row. You lose 1, then you win 4 in a row again. I believe you're 9-3 at the moment.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, what's the season been like so far for you?
It's been great.
I will ask about your individual, but from a team perspective, what's that been like?
It's been great. I love my teammates, the way they play. Nobody's selfish, and we win. That's the best thing, winning.
And I will say we've got multiple games this year already. What is it, 3 or 4 where you are the leading scorer of the game, averaging double digits for the year? I mean, what's the experience like? I know you got to be feeling yourself a little bit. You probably don't want to do too much flexing. It's a team sport or whatever.
Yeah.
But I mean, you're playing very well right now at a very high level.
Yeah. I look at it more as a team thing. Now I'm on a better team with better players, so it's kind of more balanced. And I've accepted that. I'm always used to being the guy that scores 20 a game. But I've transitioned into a winning type culture to where I don't have to drop 20. I can drop 10 and we'll win by 20, you know? So I like that way better. I'd rather do that than drop 20 and lose.
Which to an extent, how much did playing on as good of a high school team as you did help? Because obviously it's a way different level and it's a different skill set, but you had such a good high school team that it kind of was that way, that it was a lot of people doing the scoring, having to really buy into the selflessness. Like whoever's hot that night, we got to feed him, or we have to all get our shots.
So from the high school team, it kind of taught me like winning early. Like Sip kind of changed it, and Sip doesn't like losing. So he did everything he could to help us win. And then I know at Incarnate Word, it really didn't go like that. But from winning at the high school level the way we did, I think it hasn't changed much at Louisiana Tech. I think the skill set has definitely changed, but other than that, I think it's the same thing.
I got one more.
So you playing with do y'all call him Junior or do y'all call
Junior?
Y'all call him Junior.
Yeah.
So when you look at like mock drafts, like he's on most of them. Like he's a very big potential NBA player. So how does it like feel like that you're actually like playing with like a guy? Because now, like you said, like you've having to take kind of a backseat where you're not the guy, but now you're playing with a guy who could potentially go to the NBA.
Yeah. So we were actually talking yesterday before we left. They have him on next year's draft at like 42 or something. I mean, that's still
It'd be a really
crazy
high
good.
second-round pick.
Yeah.
That's wild.
Yeah, but it's kind of like if you look at LeBron and you're like, dang, if I was around him, like I'd be crazy, like I'd go crazy and stuff, you know. But like when you're with Junior every day, like it's just another guy. Like, of course he's got that high profile and everybody thinks of him like that, but he's still like a person, and like it doesn't really, you know, change.
Do y'all ever feel the perspective of like, because he's on the team, if for no other reason than that, maybe there are more eyes on you from like NBA scouts or from people like that?
Oh yeah, there's been multiple scouts ask about me. I know after the Alabama game, people weren't expecting the kind of game I played. And yeah, I mean, there's been scouts at practice. I know the Pelicans have been there, the Spurs, I think, and a couple others. So.
Dude, that's also I want to point out, I didn't mention this, your first game, maybe I did, maybe I didn't, I don't remember, but your first game on the new team at the D1 level or in this conference and everything against a ranked team on the road, you lead the team in scoring that night. 16 points.
Yeah.
That's awesome.
Yeah, he was. I mean, y'all did get killed.
Yeah,
but
we got killed. But
I also want to ask, because we're here, everyone watching this I think knows I am a diehard LSU fan. You played against my LSU Tigers.
Yeah.
What was that like, dude?
it was good. We should have won, but it was a nice experience to play against them. And the atmosphere, I don't know if y'all saw like any pictures, but I mean the stadium was packed.
That was nice.
Right, that's a home game for y'all, correct?
It was at a neutral site,
Okay.
but the way the fans traveled was crazy.
That's awesome. Again, I want to let Grayson get in here. My final question for now would be, at the level you're at, obviously, you have a chance of making the tournament, but it very well could depend on whether or not you win your conference tournament.
Mm-hmm.
What is, for you, not necessarily, I don't want you to have to speak on behalf of your entire team, but what would your goal be for this year?
I would definitely say making it to the tournament. I know last year they made it to the conference championship and lost to North Texas. And then North Texas went on to beat Purdue in the first round game. But I think we're a capable team of doing that easily, and then maybe winning a few games in the tournament. So
I'm going to need y'all to go do that, and I need you to come back here and
Yeah.
talk to me more about it.
I got you.
Grayson, do you have any questions you want to get?
Yeah, so, we talked about how we played with a lot of college athletes, X, Dede, Cam. Specifically, those three have been, like, killing it.
yeah.
Were you expecting them to be as good as...
I wasn't expecting Dede. Dede is
yeah,
killing
Dede
it.
is...
Dede is doing really good. I know I've seen he wasn't starting at first, but then they finally put him in the lineup. I remember we were talking right around when we started like scrimmaging, like closed door scrimmages for college. And he was telling me how it was, like how'd it go? And he was like, I only got like 10 minutes, this and that. And then I know Dede, like Dede is gonna hoop no matter what it is. And
Right.
I guess he just kept working. He's finally in the starting lineup. And I saw the other day he dropped like 28 points or something.
Yeah.
But Dede's doing really well. I know X is doing well. He got moved up into the starting lineup.
Yeah.
And then I know Cam's always gonna do well, so.
So like so you weren't really, because I played with them and I was not expecting them to, like X, like completely turn into a different player. Dede is just, like you said, Dede is just like...
You know how Dede was in high school. I
Yeah.
thought maybe it was gonna be raps for him.
Yeah.
Honestly. But no, he's actually changed a lot and he's doing really well. So that's good.
I will say, as someone who didn't get to play with y'all but got to watch it, not to pick favorites, I'm not supposed to, but I love seeing what Cam's doing. I mean, he was one of my favorites to watch on that team. It felt like he was very, very flexible, could just whatever he needed to do that night could do it. And I really felt like, man, if he gets the chance to do that and find his role at the college level, I think he's going to succeed at that. And of course, he's been able to do that.
Yeah, Cam's doing great as well.
He was definitely our like glue guy in high school.
Yeah.
So.
Grayson, you got anything else in there?
Yeah, so what do you think your favorite moment from the state year was, besides going to state? Whether it's a game, anything.
Yeah.
That was I think that was everyone in Summer Springs' favorite part of all of it.
That was crazy.
Do
Of
you
like,
have an answer? Do you have an answer?
it was crazy being like after Tuesday night, it'd be Wednesday morning. I don't know if it was the same for you, but like the people in my class would literally like be waiting
Yeah.
for like the Chad video.
I liked waiting for him too. I don't know, what kind of memories do we have?
I mean, for example, you had the Rockwall game where you scored 30,
Yeah.
or you have my favorite moment, honestly, and it wasn't even about me, was when you get hurt at the T-High game. They start coming back, and you come back.
Oh yeah, I forgot about that. Yeah.
was-
And now, the starting lineup for
That's probably not to brag on myself, but like I get hurt, I break my foot actually, and I go back to the training room. She's trying to see what it is, and she's like, "We can try to put a pad on it." And I'm literally limping, like can't walk, really can't run. So I go to the bench, and Sip looks at me. He's like, "Can you go?" And I was like, "No." And then I look at the score. We're up by like 20. They come back, and at the end of the third quarter, we're up by 3. And then like everybody's running to the bench, and I look at Sip, and I'm like, Sip, put me back in. And so I go back in, and like as soon as I'm walking out, like it's so loud, like everybody's screaming, everybody's going crazy because I'm back in. And anyway, we end up winning the game, and I think I scored like 7 of the 9 points.
Oh, wow.
In the fourth quarter on a broke foot. So, but I was just glad we won. That was probably one of my favorite memories too.
I think it says a ton about your career that you had to be reminded of that. You're like, oh yeah, that did happen, didn't it?
Yeah.
Yeah, that was an insane. That year was crazy, man.
That was
so
crazy.
many crazy games.
Then I miss out of whole district, and they win. Boo hits a buzzer beater to win.
Jay hit one too.
Yeah, Jay did. Yeah, that was a crazy year.
That was his senior year?
Yeah.
So at what point were you able to come back and you were good again?
I wasn't supposed to come back.
Yeah.
I lied to the doctor and said my foot was fine. It's still broken. And I convinced him, like he took an x-ray and it's still broken in half. And I convinced him to let me play, and then we just wrapped it and then put a little pad on it. And
you were just out there getting buckets with a broken foot?
I just kind of sucked it up a little bit.
That is ridiculous. I do have to ask, and Grayson, if you have anything else after this, feel free. But my final question for you would be, I know there's a ton of, when we're out at games, I'm wearing my hoodie, whatever, people literally, oh, Chasme. I know kids especially, will be watching this, and I'm sure a ton of them would love to make it to where you're at. Can you just kind of, any advice you have for them, just kind of the steps you had to take, any advice you think that would help a kid that wants to make it to that level at some point?
Yeah. I would say stay hungry. Like, keep working. Don't let anything like knock you off your grind or something like that, you know? Because that's what kind of happened to me. I wasn't receiving a bunch of attention. If anybody remembers Victor, he was the one bringing all these college coaches in. And he was at Oklahoma, now he's at UNLV, but he was the spotlight guy. He had all the juice and all that. So yeah, I would basically just say keep working. Don't listen to the outsiders and worry about social media and all that, who's getting looked at. I would just say keep working and do what you do.
Awesome. Grayson, you got anything else? No. Dude, thank you so much for coming in here, man. We couldn't appreciate it enough. We will obviously be following you for the rest of this year. If we can ever get you back in here, man, it would be awesome to get you in here again. I do want to say thank y'all so much for watching. For Grayson and myself, we will be back doing the remainder of all the home district games for Sulphur Springs this year. I believe the next one isn't until January 11th. They're playing some non-district games, some road games again, but we will be back then. On behalf of myself, Grayson, Keaston, everybody here at Chaz Media, thank y'all so much for watching. Hopefully we'll see y'all soon.